So, everybody. Shh. Let's see how it works. Welcome, everybody, to the Innovation Café, special edition, Dutch Design Week. My name is Charlotte Groen, and I will be your moderator today. Is there? Yeah? Okay. I'm a designer, also based here in Eindhoven. My studio is actually in the Klokgebouw. My work is also here, but not in the kazerne, unfortunately. My work is at the Ketelhuisplein. I did a project for the provincie, Noord-Brabant. But we are not here to talk about my work. I will just guide you through and ask questions. And like I mentioned, today we have a bit of a special edition because it's Dutch Design Week. And because of that, we also have two groups of designers who work with bio-based materials, which is really interesting. And normally with the Innovation Café, what we do is what we combine tech and design together. We live in this great area called Biotope Brainports. We have many technical companies, but we also have great designers. And we are facing very big problems right now. And we believe that design and tech could really help each other. But like I mentioned today, it's a bit different. We will have two groups of designers. So that means that we can also touch, smell, and ask questions. So please, first of all, we start with the presentations of Simone, Linde, and Mika. And then afterwards, we have time for some questions. So please give a big applause for Simone. Oh, sorry, Linde and Mika were starting first. Of course. Please take the stage.
So welcome. Oh, I hold it like this, right? It's very nice to see everyone. My name is Linde. This is Mika. And we are from, I think we can call ourselves a collective, Back to the Flax. And for those who don't know what Flax is what is right here on the ground. In Dutch, it's also called vlas, but you might also know it as linen, which is how we call it if it's in a textile form, or you might know it as linseeds. That is the seeds that are called. So sometimes I feel like Flax deals with a little bit of an image problem because we have so many names for it. But actually, it's a very ancient material that has been used. I think some researchers think over 30,000 years ago, but in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in the north of France, it was a very important material. That was before we started sailing, and we get textiles like cotton or silk. Wool and linen is actually what we had. So it was very, very valuable. Also in ancient Egypt, it was really was a luxury product. And today we are going to tell you a little bit about what we are doing with Flax.
Okay, so I'm Mika. Hi. So we heard about a lot of projects that happens around the Netherlands with the flax, that it's very local material that usually sent to China to be processed and coming back here. And then it's loses like locality and like it's like speciality of our this land. So we heard about different project, and we started like self-initiative student project, collected 10 students from different places, different background, to create this kind of a new approach to the flax from the design, let's say, point of view. So I'm gonna explain a little bit of what we've done during our process. And we are really aspire to create some of community around this material of people all over, because we just think there is a lot of possibilities and option of working together. And even during our process, we met a lot of people, and we collaborate with a lot of different people. So it's more fun to work together and more enriching our knowledge, of course, about this material. So we started our project with a workshop. We contact with the Craft Council, and we had flax expert that explained us as a student that didn't know much about flax, more about the material. We touched on pieces from of textile from long ago, and we learned together the basics that we can start and grow the material by our own in our own piece of land near Geldop. So we can continue. We saw the flax seeds in the help of Frank, a farmer in our 1,000 square meter field. He helped us to do it in the right way, and we all the process communicate with him how we can do it on the best hand, to create the best material for processing later. Our harvest day, we did some workshop in collaboration with St. Lucas. We invited them to learn more about the material, involving more young people, more students to get to know this material and all the process that's around creating the textile and harvest together our crops. After we process by hand our own material, we look back to old artisanal craft and how they did it, because we thought we need to look back before we moving forward to how to process the material. So we worked in system that everything by hand, and everything is have been done all days. People from us learn how to spin the material, how to break it in the right way, and then we started to process the material. And we're doing it even this week in Caserna. So we did it on live here. After we had our material, our first harvest was in August. In the end of August, we had our first option to do experiment and tryouts. So we try a few different approach with this material when we are combining it only with biodegradable material, or with the flax itself to create monomaterial without blending any other things. So here we have some example of hard material that create of lime rock, the powder, and the flax small pieces that are left over from the breaking process. We have here some felted flax that cover with flax gel and create some monomaterial that keeps the flax fiber together. And we have some combination of the wood pieces with rice glue, and we have more examples and samples that we are working on to continue to experiment with this material. So what is the future for us? We want to really create a community about people to get more involved and know about this optional material that stays here and very easy to grow. It doesn't need to be we don't need to use a lot of water. You just need to sow the seed and wait 100 days for your crops to happen, and you can create a lot of things out of this material. We want to be completely an open source that people can learn from us and work with us and talk about the material. And we want to create a new options for keep going with this biomaterial that is very local and combine it in our daily life in a new approach as people who are students for designing in Eindhoven.
So what I think is very interesting about working with flax is that you have this one raw material, and what you can get from it is food. You can get small fibers, you can get short fibers, long fibers, you can create a textile, you can create bioplastics, semi-transparent materials, more of a plywood pressed material. So from just this one plant that you can sow and grow, you can get all these different materials, and you can grow it local. So I believe, and we as a group believe, that if you think about sustainability, local is a very important part of it, because right now a lot of flax is it's still grown. It's also still grown in the Netherlands, in Belgium, and in France, but we don't have the processing techniques here. Those are in Asia. So you grow something sustainable, you have to ship it to Asia, it's processed, it comes back as a luxury material where it was actually, just grown next door. What's good about flax as a crop also when it comes to sustainability, that it's a very good in between crop. So it gives a lot of nutrition back to the soil, and it has very deep roots. And when you harvest it, you completely pull out the whole plant, so you don't cut it. And because of that, it adds a lot to the soil structure. So it can be very good combined also when you plant potatoes. Those go really well together. So that makes it, also in terms of like more nature inclusive agriculture, a very good plant to include that then has a lot of benefits. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Big applause. Wait. I have a question for you.
Oh.
Thank you so much for your very inspirational presentation. Well, I have a question because you told me they're like second-year students of the Design Academy. And I think that's amazing what you were doing. You know, you're still in school and you come up with this project by yourself to do this, organize people, organize land, and just started doing it. I think that earns a big applause from all of you. Really, that's amazing. And there is many things. After this, you can also watch their exhibition over there. Yeah? But first we go to Simone. Give a big applause for Simone. Sorry. And a clicker. I have one. Let's see how it works. Is it a new presentation, mine, or? Oh, yeah, here you go. Silphium Perfoliatum. My name is Simone van Es. I am an interior designer. I have my studio in Rotterdam. And, about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, one of my friends asked me on my birthday, at the 1st of January, what is your New Year's resolution? And I thought, what is it? To live circular for an entire year, as if it was a challenge. It's obviously ridiculous, but that's when it started, for me as a designer. I was wondering about how can I use more bio-based materials in my designs? How can I learn more about it? Because to only use wood, for me, if you all do that, there will be no trees left. So what I find interesting is the fiber crops, like flax, like my Silphium Perfoliatum, like hemp, miscanthus, all kinds of crops that we use now. It started here at Kazerne actually. Last year I participated in a different project. And from that came the circular challenge of Blue City in Rotterdam. Blue City is kind of a small circular economy itself. It's the epicenter of biodiversity, I would say. Entrepreneurs have their businesses there, and they organize all kinds of summits, and the circular challenge being one of them. So this was the crop edition, 3 teams, one of them being Silphium Perfoliatum. It's cup plant in English, zonnekroon in Dutch. There was watermint and there was reed. So the 3 teams the assignment was to develop building materials from the crop and or a product. Building materials because this is a new way of farming. The farmers, they get rid of their livestock and they start with the fiber crops. So Silphy is new in the Netherlands. It's not a native crop. It's from North America. And it already grows in Germany, in Austria, in Switzerland, France. But here it's new. So it's important that farmers also learn about it. What does the crop do? Why is it special? And obviously we developed several building materials from it. It was quite easy actually, and that was surprising to me. One of them I hold here in my hands. You see that over there, the finished product, the stools. I'll come to that later. It's good for the soil. And when I started working with it, I went to the farmer, obviously, to the land, and then I saw how bad we're doing, of a job we're doing actually with the soil. It's alarming, like you said before.
you know, in a way, because you read the newspapers, you know, but if you see it, I saw the field of Silphy alive with birds, bees, all kinds of insects, clear waters, frogs, salamanders, everywhere, everything. So yeah, that was in a contrast to the grassland, who was right next to it actually, and there was nothing. So that was so clear to me, and I thought, I have to do something. If it's easy in 2 weeks to develop, like for instance this plate material from it, I should do something, like you all also mentioned. So I started doing. We developed these building materials in 6 weeks' time, and I thought, okay, now I have a pretty amazing plate material, 100% Silphium Perfoliatum. It's actually water resistant also. You can put it in water for 3 days and nothing happens. If you compare that to, let's say, MDF, which is full of chemicals, obviously. And this is wood replacing, it's plant-based. So, yeah, that's a nice advantage. So, I should do more with it. And I presented it in Milano during the Milano Design Week. And I actually built an exhibition around it. And I also erected the Root Foundation, which is not only the exhibition, but also an educational program and the lab. Roots exhibition and Roots education. So that's a circle I would like to make. Start young with the children from primary school, middle schools. Then, if they, like you, are second year in Design Academy, for instance, you know, get it rolling, get it started, and look at those inventions and think, okay, is this interesting for the public to know, and then expose it at my exhibition. So, okay, so this is the circle. Why is this crop important? It takes care of the soil. It is a perennial crop. It stays for 20 to 30 years on an acre, and it has an extensive root system. Goes into the ground 2 meters, and there it holds water. Lots of water, CO2 obviously, nutrients. It's a very nutritious crop also. And in times of extreme drought, and this is interesting for the Netherlands, so it keeps water, but it also shares water. So if it's dry, and for instance if there's like 1 year a crop like corn or hemp next to it, it will share its nutrients and water with the other crops, and it will keep the soil moist, the top layer. And that's important because, well, if you look here in Eindhoven or Brabant, there's a lot of sand, and you don't want the sand to travel. So if it's moist, it stays. And Noord-Zuid-Holland is peat, and then a clay layer on top. If the clay layer dries out, the CO2 can escape from the peat layer. So yeah, that's also not good news. So this plant keeps it moist, grows 4 meters high, 3 to 4 meters. And what I found, the most beautiful part actually, is it flowers. It flowers richly. It flowers from June to September. And that's good news for the bees, also for the pollinators. They go into winter well fed. And, well, the beekeeper that is next to our 3 acres of Silphy, she says, it's a significant difference because, the survival rates increase. And that's, that's awesome. It's a very versatile crop. It's also edible for livestock, so we can keep the palm and the palm oil and the soy in the Amazon. We don't need to import that. We can also use it as a peat replacement in potting soil, for instance, because of all the nutrition it contains. And it's for me it was an eye opener. And I would like to say to farmers, to encourage them to start growing it. And not only the Silphy, but in a fiber crop mix. If, for instance, a farmer has already flax or hemp, it's interesting. It's like a linking crop. So you can grow it like 5 meters wide, and then next to the Silphy, they grow a different crop. There's a diverse. How do you say it? Exactly. Yeah. So yeah. I'm enthusiastic. I'd like to share this message with the plate material. I went to Piet Heineck. I said, Piet, listen, this is amazing. He agreed. He said, I'll help you I'll design this tool for you to emphasize the fact that this is a crop that is noteworthy and people should pay attention to it. So we did. It's right there.
Thank you, Simone.
You're welcome.
Big applause. That's great. Simone. You're not there yet.
I'm not there yet.
No. I have a question for you, because I know a little bit about farming.
Yeah.
Not so much, but one of the main things that's going on is that we have these big fields of all the same crops.
Yeah.
Monoculture.
Yeah.
How is that going to work with your material? I'm afraid that we do the same thing with bio-based materials.
Yeah,
What is your opinion
you're
about
actually right, because if you see some acres, you see all hemp or all miscanthus. That's not a good sign, right? This is why it's important to have it as a linking crop, like I explained before. If you put it in between, it can share the nutrients and the water. It's great, it stays there, doesn't, you don't have to touch the soil or anything, no pesticides, nothing. So, yeah, that's why it's interesting to for a farmer to have the multiple crops, and with Silphy as a linking crop. Yeah,
I've heard you're also selling the seeds, so you can also build it or grow it in your own garden.
you can. If you have a garden large enough for a crop that grows up to 4 meters.
Yeah. Who has a big garden?
I actually grow it next to my fence, so we have a natural fence with the flower. It's fantastic. I mean, it's nice to have it in a garden, and also it takes care of the soil. It grows right through herbs. I call it herbs, onkruiden.
Oh yeah.
Herbs. And it's better because the insects like herbs, and they, for soil life, it's much better. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Mika and Linda also come up here because I think people have questions. Does anybody has a question? Otherwise, I would have many questions.
My name is Aga. Hello, thank you for your presentations, both of the presentations. I have a question because both of the projects speak about the soil and also like how important it is to, over the process that you develop, nutrition for the soil. And probably from your research you already know how this is changing over the seeds, over the soil in the climate change, also in the Netherlands. Like I believe this kind of development can help in that. Like, what is your perspective on this, from the seed to the soil, like small steps?
Thank you.
You mean like the crop adjusts to the climate? That's what you mean?
What I mean is more like you have a bank of seeds. Yeah, so they're like a bank of seeds important for developing the seeds towards the new climate changes, right? So you have seeds that are changed and modified in a laboratory, and you have a development of the seeds that are actually changed naturally. And I would like to know, like from the seeds that you plant, like, what is your perspective on that? Like, is that helpful, or like the seeds of the plants that you place? Like,
Silphy, Silphy is not that easy to sow because it goes 4 centimeters underground, and that's pretty. It's not a lot. So if you grow it inside first and then sow it or plant it, that's better. But farmers have special equipment for it, so they can sow it exactly 4 centimeters or 6. It is not deep into the ground. And the seeds are strong enough. It's a very strong crop. It grows right through everything. And it also adjusts because if you look at the grondwater,
the water in the ground?
Yeah, exactly. The levels. It doesn't like permanent wet feed, so if it hits the water, then it'll stop. The roots will stop right there. The crop will not grow 4 meters, or then it will be less high. But it adjusts to the climate. But it can take a lot of water.
And I was also curious because you interest me with your question about the seeds. The seeds are in the flowers, right?
Yeah.
Do you use these seeds that you growed yourself for the next time?
Yeah, you can use these. Yeah.
Okay. Because that's also a very interesting question.
There are developments.
And how is that for your material?
We actually experienced this year when we have a lot of very wet winter, and we really felt it on our flax crops that are shorter than usual. So you can see straightforward how the changing on the climate influence on our crops. We can feel it in our end. Let's say that we have shorter fibers to work with on the material, and we had to plant a little bit late because the soil slipped. So it was, you can really see the influence of the climate on the material that you get in the end. Something about the flax seeds that is interesting. It's like a patent in the Netherlands. And it's amazing how you take something from nature and make a patent out of it. And it's something to a little bit questionable.
I think that we could make an innovation cafe about
so
that.
this is another topic
Does
that we try to
know anything about that, about patents and materials? You know? No. I know how you do it, but does anybody have more background around it? The team.
The only thing I heard from you is that you can't re-sow the flax right now. So that's so weird that you can't re-sow the things that you are getting out of your harvest because it's patented.
Yeah, we're legally not allowed to use the seeds that we've grown because they've spent so much time on innovating it. So it has a very high germinating percentage, which means that from the seeds that we got, 99.6% will actually grow into a plant. That's very high. Normally it's much lower, but because they put so much research on it, it's a patent and it becomes property. Yeah, which is so unnatural.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 1 year crop.
If it's a 1 year, this is a 20 to 30 years, so that's different also. If we have a wet season, like this year was, also with the hemp, we saw it, they started sowing it in June, end of June, because it was so wet. Yeah. Silphy was already meters high because it's there, you don't have to sow it every year. Not that I'm comparing, but it was quite convenient this year because it was so wet. And meadowbirds already hatching it in April and in March when it's low. Yeah, it has lots of benefits in that way also, yeah.
I have a question here.
Yeah. What's your name? I'm Jora, hi. I'm from Rotterdam as well. So that's a good connection. My question actually is, I know quite some of plants, but I never heard of this one. Is there any scale in the Netherlands already in growing it? And where is it done? So
that's
where
a good
have you
question.
tried out your land?
Yeah, it's new. It's from North America. Like I said, it already grows in Germany. They make paper out of it, biogas, France, Austria, Switzerland. But in the Netherlands, it's quite new. There are only a few farmers that grow it. I also know a big oyster manufacturer, oyster mushroom manufacturer here in Brabant. Also uses it, has his own Silphy field, because it's free of toxics during its lifetime. It's also a toxic-free sowing bed for edible fungi. So it's versatile in that way as well.
Thank you. Does that answer your question? Yeah?
Can I ask one more? Yeah. Because I just looked up from which plant family it is, from the Asteraceae. So is there more plants in that family that have the same characteristics to make some product of?
I don't know. No, I don't know. I know it's far related to the sunflower. That's why it has the yellow leaves as well. But that's
something really interesting to maybe research more. Yeah, maybe also something to talk about during drinks. We also have another question from Zoe.
I thought it was quite interesting that both of the plants give back to the soil, but I was wondering at what point, asking both of you, when does the plant become an invasive species if it's not natively from
invasive?
Europe?
Did you say that? Did you say invasive? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I said invasive species, and also in relation to the fact that you can't then replant the seeds legally. I'm also curious what you have to say about it.
Yeah, it's different again. This is a perennial, so it's not invasive. It stays in one spot. And
Well, Flax is it's not invasive because it doesn't spread, so it grows from the seed and it just goes up. And it's also, it's from this region, so it's what's the word? It's local, yeah. But yeah, I guess I agree with you. As I also hear a little bit of criticism, like, okay, if we have to rebuy the seeds every time, where do the seeds come from? It's still kind of a strange system, perhaps. So yeah, maybe we should make an open source seed bank as well.
Yeah, we should.
And I think it also links back to what we've talked about before, that it's all about, it's not zooming in on, oh, now let's fill the Netherlands with Silphy or with Flax, but that it's about crop rotation and about, you need a lot of different plants. You know, some plants you need to protect the soil so the sun doesn't dry it out. You need plants that capture the water. And I think something that I've learned about working with biomaterials is that every plant has fibers. Some fibers, like for instance with flax, they're very long, which makes them very strong. They're one of the strongest fibers from plants that we can use, and that's why they're very suitable for textile. With the Silphy, it probably, there's no text. Yeah, so very woody, so that makes it very strong. So there's just, like, even a plant is also a composite. So it exists of different elements. And depending on if it has more pectin or lignin or something, makes it more suitable as different types of biomaterials.
Okay, we have another question. Anemone.
Can you tell a little bit, Simone, on how you get from the crop to the building material?
Yeah, of course. We take the whole plant. We put it in a blender.
You put it in a blender?
Big blender.
Yeah.
Shred it. And it's that blend we mix with rainwater and put it in a heat press. That's all.
That's it.
That's
and you
it.
Put in the whole plant, like everything.
Shredded, everything. Yeah.
Wow.
That's this material. Yeah. No glue.
No glue.
The plant itself, it glues itself. No added biobinders, nothing. So it contains lots of natural glue. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said. Exactly.
Yeah. Ernst.
At which temperature do you heat it to transform it?
Up to 160 degrees.
And how do you dispose the material? You can burn it or
Dispose?
So if this chair,
Put it on your compost outside.
Yeah, okay, just compost.
It's 100% biodegradable, plant-based. Yeah.
Does anybody has a question? Yes.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I actually have been studying nettle for some of the exact same reasons. I'm an artist from the United States. One of my questions is more of a curiosity. When did the processing of the flax move from Europe to China? And do you know why? Because at some point it had to have been processed here. Do you have any information on why that changed?
We don't know exactly when. Like, I can assume that it's like an industrial, like, revolution kind of process when, like, machines started to replace the, like, hand, like, the people, basically. It's amazing to see, actually, during the exhibition, how many people around, like, really spin when they were younger, or really work the material when they were younger. So it wasn't that too long ago. So.
Yeah. So to give you the mic very small. And from that perspective, it was no longer financially interesting to do it in Europe. So and then it ends up in China, of course. And nowadays, the spinning is done in Portugal again, a lot for bed linens. So that's what I know because I worked in an industry. If it becomes bigger again, there is a chance for the machines. But only the spinning is the only thing that's not done in Europe. So the weaving is done in Europe.
What is your background? Just being curious.
Textiles.
You're a textile designer.
No. I worked in textile. Currently, we work in food forest, and we're very interested in this type of materials because that's something for the future. And especially when you say that you don't use any glue, that makes it very interesting, I think, combined with the water resistance, because that's normally when there's
Let me add.
You can touch it later. Huh?
Yeah, I will.
There are good glues. There are good bio-based glues. I would mind adding, but in this is nothing added. Yeah.
Does anybody has a question? Well, I have one. Always many questions. Are you planning to do also work with a different kind of crop?
For now, we are staying at the flax, but we thought about combining in our next sewing to combine another fiber to see how it's grow together, one next to each other, and maybe it's give benefits or the opposite. Yes. And then it's interesting to understand.
Thank you. Very interesting.
Maybe with Silphy.
Yeah, for the Silphy, we experimented with in the research with reed, for instance, because that was our competitor at the In Challenge. But it also binds the reed, so you get a different material that will not be water resistant and not as strong, but it can be combined. Wow. And use a waste crop like reed is interesting. Huh?
Yeah, very interesting. I think everybody is maybe very curious how it smells. You can touch this. Please be very
Don't touch
careful.
the stools.
Yeah.
I have a sample right here if you would like to
stools,
touch it.
But you're not able to touch the stools. Oh, Annemone?
Yeah, may I say that I really enjoyed the past years, past days, because last Saturday you started from this, what you see, and you're now spinning, and this is so nice to see how it actually evolves. That's a big compliment on how you do this.
Yes. And by the way, for the people who don't know, this is Annemone. She's the owner of the Kazerne. Yeah, Annemone, I need to tell you. She's the one who makes this all possible. The Innovation Café is every week on Thursday from 6 to 7. We have different kinds of conversation, different kinds of speakers, different kinds of teams. Please bring your friends and colleagues here. You can find it on the website, and you can not buy a ticket, but please, then we know how many people are coming. We also, if you want to stay for dinner, we have a special Innovation Café dinner. Please talk to Zoe. She can help you further. And I think we have many things to talk about during the drinks. And thank you so much for your inspirational story. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.